We're up bright and early. Thank God it's Friday, just as we thank God it's every other weekday, right? Welcome to the Morning Brief. We're live in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital. I'm Kayode Okikele.
Yeah, I like the ginger, Kayode. It's looking already like a Friday of triumphs, colors, and songs. Good morning and welcome. We're live for you right here from our global headquarters of Channels Television. I am Bukola Kuka.
Now it's 10 days into the month of May, and by next month, it will be June. We would have counted half of 2024, and that means it will be remaining the other half. So I want you to do something this morning. Begin to audit the first few months of 2024 and see how well you've done, the things you've not done right, and let's see how the next phase will look like. Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Brief. I'm Jeffrey Uzama.
It's never too late to start your New Year resolutions. We know a lot of people, they wrote it.
Yeah, you mean?
I'm just saying, some people wrote it, but they didn't quite start the New Year resolution. So it's just there somewhere. So it's never too late to dig it up. All of those financial goals, fitness goals, spiritual goals, and the rest. It's never too late. So we're just encouraging you. We know that a lot of things might distract you, but hey, it's never too late to start again.
To pan it around the inflation numbers at the end of the day. So, as I have said before, sometimes the psychological trick I use for myself is if I want to do something in a year, I don't necessarily start that year. I start around December, late November, December, when I just retreat and just evaluate what I've gone through, what I've done, I've not done, and just to look around your life and see what you can check. And then I start implementing as much as possible the previous year. So sometime around November, December. So by the time we get to January, it has become some sort of a lifestyle or a way of life, some level of culture. So because when everybody goes to that January 1st, before you know, January 1st will turn to March the 31st. So the best way is just to start it before it starts. And before you know, I go another cycle again. So I'm always introspecting within those periods because I want to do things differently. Sometimes it's not something new. It's just to consolidate on things I've been doing before. How can I do it better?
Well, I'm very high on words, so I like to talk myself up. I like to commend myself for how far I have come. I like to look myself in the mirror and say, you're doing well. You're putting in a lot of effort already, and just take it one step at a time. And if you have a goal, just check up on it every other day. If you are writing a book, for instance, you can write a page every other day. And before you know it, you're done with one chapter already. So go easy on yourself. Yeah, that's the trick for me, Kayode.
And I must say, watch what you say. Ever since I revealed that the ugu plant is growing, I've been getting requests from people to share. It's just a little ugu plant, okay? By the way, if you wonder what ugu is a vegetable we love in this part of the world, and it makes some mean soup, actually, the ugu soup. You could put some egusi in it. I know this is not the right time to talk about it, but I'm just putting it out there. It's a tiny flower pot. It's for our mental health, not for consumption. I'm just putting it out there. But it's amazing what we've gone through this week, really. This has been a very, very challenging week, to say the least, for a lot of people. Every day we talk about the petrol issues. We hear that the gas price has gone down. It hasn't trickled down everywhere just yet. Perhaps something cherry to hold on to. So gas prices, let's know how much it is in your area. I bought just 2 days ago, and it was still over 1,000. We understand that it's meant to be just below 1,000. So let us know, have the gas prices dropped in your area? Are you buying it for, is it 900? 800 or what have you, or still at that price? These are the issues that actually make Nigerians wonder and think, all of these economic policies we were promised, when will they come to fruition? So let us know, the usual channels with which you can send in your messages on the show.
And it was nice to see that the president is back. At least we saw videos yesterday of him resuming work, and there's a lot on the table for the president to deal with right now. As I've always said, 1 year in, because of the too strong economic policies of the government, all the numbers, literally all of his numbers are in the negative. All the numbers, whether it's inflation headline or food or exchange rate, whatever number you call as far as this cost of things or prices of goods and services in terms of fuel, whatever number you call, the numbers are in the red. But he said that he understands that this is a necessary step to set the country in motion. So, but this is my concern. When it comes to Nigeria's democracy, maybe the whole of Africa, if you have 4 years, the first 1 year or so is just getting inundated with litigation issues, so distractions here and there. And then the next year is really when you have a bit of time. By the time you're getting to your third year, ASOS campaign starts again, political intrigue and all of that. So technically in 4 years, the individual may just have about 2 years to do whatever is meaningful if you can't do that. So I'm saying this to say that Mr. President, it's going to be a year. In a few days, maybe 19 days from now, since you assumed office as a president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces, all your numbers are not good. We understand, and you say you know that this is a very difficult decision you took and we should bear with you. But something has to be done urgently to intervene as much as possible so that Nigerians will smile again.
Jeffrey, I beg to differ, though. Pardon me. I don't think there are distractions in 1 year, the first 1 year. The people in power, that your governor, president, you're not the one, you don't go to the courts. You're not the one
that's what they
defending
claim.
yourself.
That's what they claim.
You have
your
your
lawyers
legal
go
team.
to court on your behalf,
And that's the point.
And really, if you compare it with a normal employee, if you first get a job, you're on probation for 6 months, after which you're either confirmed or it's extended. Talk less of being the employee of an organization for 1 year, and your performance is still not good enough for confirmation. It leaves much to be desired about what you promoted yourself as being competent to do in the first place.
I kind of agree.
It's been 1 year down the line, and the numbers are dismal. The performance is dismal from an objective standpoint, a neutral standpoint. The numbers are not encouraging, and there's little communication as well. So we need to know. From the presidency, we need to feel the pulse of the presidency about the explanation about all of these policies and the responses to these policies.
I kind of agree that no excuse, but I'm just giving you the excuses.
Oh yes, I know.
The excuses
out there.
So
next time
just look at the issue of River State. Literally, we've been covering this since it started. It's like one battle against the other every other day. And trust me, when we say this battle has just started, we've not seen the peak of this battle. If you think you've seen the peak of that battle, just wait and see. Okay. Well, Kade, what do we have?
So let's sort of hold our horses for now and give you a sense of what to expect on the show this morning. As we always say, it is the breakfast show. So this is what we're starting with in what is being described as a flagrant violation of human rights and threat to press freedom, a situation sort of reminiscent of military dictatorship. Police detained and continue to detain journalist Daniel Ojukwu for over a week, 10 days now. Protests continue against the Inspector General of Police, and the chant is quite simple: release Daniel Ojukwu. Journalism is not a crime.
Well, of course, as well as that, we also have for you, an update on Rivers politics, which will also be on the front burner. Did you catch up with our conversation yesterday with the former commissioner who has now resigned of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation?
Of the state.
That was quite revealing about what was happening behind the scenes. So we keep track of the moves from both sides of the divide, whether it's in River State, Port Harcourt, the Government House, or in the FCT. We wonder where the fireworks are coming from. So we'll have that conversation yet again this morning.
And later on the show, we're going to tone things down. Come on, leave the politics, leave the economy, leave all of that. So what do you do when you have the talent to do a lot of things? We find out from our final guest for today, who comes singing. Combines singing with acting, journalism, and more. She's literally a living art. You can see her there, Ewa Olua. But join us right here on the Morning Brief for the very first time. We'll tell you who she is. We're not going to reveal more than that. But some of you get it clear already.
Oh, yeah. So code name for her, multi-potentialite. We'll break that down for you absolutely on the show.
There's so many Bukola. Bukola is a code
teacher.
Yeah.
It's a code name. We'll decode it.
Thank God it didn't come from Bukola this time around.
So this is what happens when you spend time with people who rub off on you. That's why it's important to have good people around you. People who have good character, who have good things you can learn from. That's why it's important. So for politicians, well, they would say, surround yourselves with the right advisors. I
have never seen being boboed on live television like I just saw right now.
But join the bobo, what have you. You can get us online and on WhatsApp, send in your thoughts, your messages. The price of gas, for example, that we asked about. What is it in your area? Well, you can do that on WhatsApp. The number would be on your screen any moment from now. You could just use the hashtag CTV Morning Brief. There you go. The WhatsApp number Send us that message, that question. Be a part of the show. This is your country. Let's fix it together, shall we? In the meantime, we'll bring you the top stories that will be shaping the conversation today and in the coming days. Yes, it's been a busy week, absolutely. So we're not letting anything out of our sight. Stay with us. It's a morning brief. Our top stories at this hour. It appears there will now be death penalty for convicted drug traffickers. That's just as the Senate has approved the death penalty for drug traffickers in the country as it passed the 2024 National Drug Law Enforcement Agency NDLEA Amendment Bill through the third reading. The proposal, which was passed through a voice vote, followed the submission of the report on the amendment of the NDLEA Amendment Bill by the chairman of the Senate Joint Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, as well as Drugs and Narcotics, Senator Tahir Munguno.
The objectives of the bill is: one, it seeks to strengthen the operation of the agency, to empower the agency to establish laboratories for forensic review the penalty provision, and to enhance the power of the agency to prosecute drug-related offenses and issue subsidiary legislations.
Since we want to amend this law to be more effective, then the punishment should be harder. So I am proposing that instead of imprisonment for life, it should be to be sentenced to death.
It is time to call a spade a spade. If we want to eradicate drug trafficking in Nigeria, the only way to do that is to nip it from the board and to make it a capital offense.
There you go, strong words from the Senate there. But let's head over to the lower house. And in response to a motion on the urgent need to halt and modify the implementation of the cybersecurity levy, the House of Representatives is directing the Central Bank of Nigeria to withdraw the ambiguous circular and issue a more understandable one. Mover of the motion, Honorable Kingsley Chinda, drew attention to multiple interpretations of the CBN directive against the specification in the Cybercrime Act. Also, the House of Representatives has passed a resolution to investigate the procurement process and the award of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road contract.
The House is further concerned that the words of the CBN circular leaves the CBN directive to multiple interpretations, including that the levy be paid by bank customers, that is Nigerians, against the letter and spirit of Section 44(2)A of the Act, which specified businesses that should be levied accordingly. The House is therefore called upon to resolve to direct the Central Bank of Nigeria to withdraw the ambiguous circular and issue an unequivocal circular in line with the letters and spirit of the law.
To the executive now, President Bola Tinubu has officially resumed work at the presidential villa Abuja a day after returning from his trip abroad. He walked from his residence to his office, accompanied by his security aides, his chief of staff, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, the national security advisor, Mr. Nuhu Ribadu, and other aides. While in office, the president received Governors Ubasani, Caleb Mutfwang, and Abdullahi Sule of Kaduna, Plateau, and Nasarawa states. He also received the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode Gbetokun, among others. Let's talk state politics now. The political tension in Rivers State is apparently heightened as Governor Siminalayi Fubara, who has been at loggerheads with the State House of Assembly, has paid an unscheduled visit to the Assembly quarters. The quarters actually serves as the official residence for the 32 legislators of the state and also houses the temporary chambers of the Martin Amiwole-led State Assembly since the demolition of the main assembly building. Accompanied by a convoy of uniformed and civilian aides, Governor Fubara briefly toured the premises before departing to inspect the MOR Calabari Road, and which was slated for inauguration as part of his upcoming first anniversary celebration next week.
It's assembly, not part of my property. Is there anything wrong in going to check how things are going on there? You're aware of the development. We have a new speaker, and I went there to see for myself how things are, because there might be a few things I might want to do there for the good of our people.
Now, following that visit, the Rivers State Assembly is alleged that Governor Fubara plans to demolish the Assembly quarters. Raising the alarm during a press briefing, Speaker Martin Amiwole accused the governor of being in violation of a subsisting court order, conducting journalists around the premises. Visibly angry, Mr. Amiwole said the building is very sturdy and does not require any renovation, adding that the governor was not invited there by any of them and as such isn't needed. Another member of the House, Justina Emeji, called on FIDA, the international community, and other well-meaning people to intervene and call the governor to order.
Rivers people were stunned this afternoon when they got the information that the governor of Rivers State, Sir Siminalayi Fubara, stormed the Rivers State House of Assembly quarters in yet another attempt to demolish the Rivers State House of Assembly quarters, just the same way he demolished the Rivers State House of Assembly complex. Nigerians, Rivers people are watching events day by day as our own governor, who is supposed to uphold the Constitution, is gradually sliding into the position of the chief lawbreaker of Nigeria. Our governor demolished the House of Assembly complex, and plans are underway from what we are seeing to again demolish the Rivers State House of Assembly quarters. The quarters you have here is one of the best in the country. The Rivers House of Assembly quarters was built by the past administration under His Excellency Ezenwo Wike and was commissioned in August in the year 2022 by the then Speaker of the House of Representatives and now Chief of Staff to Mr. President of the Federal Republic. As you can see, there's nothing wrong with any of the buildings. All the buildings are in perfect condition. Our hall is in perfect condition. We have no issues. We have not called on the governor for any form of help.
From the south to the northwest, where a similar situation is playing out in Zamfara State, where the government has filed a direct criminal complaint against 8 suspended members of the State House of Assembly before Justice Rukubatu Aliyu Kanoma of the Magistrate Court sitting in Gusau, the state capital. Now, the 8 suspended members are Shamsuddin Hassan, Faruk Musa Dusara, Nasiru Maru, Bashir Gumi Bashiru Bungudu, Amiru Ahmed Keita, Ibrahim Tuku, and Bashiru Abubakar. In a 5-count charge case filed by the Attorney General of Zamfara State and Commissioner for Justice, Abdulaziz Sani, the suspended lawmakers are accused of forcefully breaking into the office. For more stories now, the federal government has announced the recapture of some inmates who escaped from the Suleja Custodial Center in April following the collapse of its perimeter fence during heavy downpour. The Minister of Interior, Mr. Olubunmi Ojo, as Tunji Ojo disclosed this in Abuja when he inspected ongoing security projects at the medium security custodial facility in Kuje, Abuja. He adds that the federal government is building a 125-bed custodial center beside the current center in Suleja to be able to solve the problem of overcrowding, in addition to better welfare for the inmates.
Yes, we have recaptured a lot of people, and work is actually going on, and we're working with other sister agencies, but the details of that I won't be able to disclose in front of camera for security reasons, not to jeopardize the hard work that our men in uniform are presently putting in. But Nigerians can be rest assured at 56 centers. But the simple truth is we are working very hard, and even in Suleja, just beside it, you can see that we're building a 125-bed correctional center beside it, to be able to solve the problem of overcrowding, to solve the problem of congestion in our correctional center. So above board, we are putting in everything to make sure that our correctional centers are safe, our correctional centers are foolproof to attack, and our correctional centers are national assets that must be protected, and also to look at the well-being and welfare of our inmates.
From an undesired escape to the cherry kind of escape, another Chibok girl, Lydia Simon, who escaped from Boko Haram captivity, has been rescued by troops of Sector 1 Northeast Joint Task Force Operation Hadinkai. The theater commander of the Joint Task Force, Major General Waidi Shoaibu, while addressing journalists alongside Lydia at the headquarters of the theater, says she was rescued on April 17th. Lydia Simon escaped with 3 children, a boy and 2 girls. Speaking to journalists, Lydia said she was married to 3 different men while in captivity, but 2 of them died, while the 3rd is still alive at Mandera Mountains. To the courts now, where former Minister of Aviation, Mr. Hadi Sirika, has pleaded not guilty to the alleged corrupt practices involving about 2.7 billion naira brought against him by the federal government. Mr. Sirika was arraigned before Justice Silvanus Orji of Federal Capital Territory High Court, along with his daughter, Fatima, his son-in-law, Jalal Hama, and the firm, Alburg Global Investment Limited. They were granted bail for 100 million naira each shortly after. Well, let's talk business now. The board of First Bank has appointed Mr. Ebenezer Olufowoche, a non-executive director, as the new chairman of a board of directors of First Bank of Nigeria Limited, replacing Mr. Tunde Hassan Odukale, who stepped down. Updating the Nigerian Exchange Group, recent development within the bank, the company's secretary, Mr. Duwale Arokundade, in a notice said that Mr. Hassan Odukale's exit followed the completion of a cumulative number of years, which is 12 years for a non-executive director, in line with Central Bank of Nigeria's corporate governance guidelines. Mr. Hassan Odukale, who joined the board of First Bank of Nigeria Limited as a non-executive director in 2011, is managing director of Leadway Assurance Company Limited. Mr. Olufowoche, the group managing director of First Ally Capital Limited, was appointed to the board of directors of First Bank on April the 29th, 2021. And outside the country, more than 80,000 people are said to have fled the southern Gaza city of Rafah since Monday, according to the UN, as Israeli tanks reportedly mass close to built-up areas amid constant bombardment. Palestinian armed groups say that they were targeting Israeli troops to the east, and Israel's military has said its ground forces are conducting what it calls targeted activity in eastern Rafah. The UN also warned that food and fuel was running out because it was not receiving aid through nearby crossings. Israeli troops took control and closed the Rafah crossing with Egypt at the start of their operation. And to sports now, I'll call them never losing Leverkusen, as Bayern Leverkusen has set a new European unbeaten record of 49 successive games in securing late draw with Roma to reach the Europa League final. Just Stanisic scored with the last kick of the game in the 97th minute to earn Xabi Alonso's side a 2-2 draw on the night and a 4-2 aggregate victory. Roma, who had lost in the first leg in Italy, were much improved to Germany, drew level in the tie through 2 Leandro Paredes penalty. But a disastrous own goal from Gianluca Mancini handed Leverkusen the crucial advantage in the 2-leg semi-final before Croatian defender Stanisic ensured history with the latest in a long line of Leverkusen late goals. Again, they've been called the never-losing Leverkusen. But those are the top stories at this hour. Let's now walk through what you are saying about them and so much more on the show this morning. Well, Bukola joins me as we walk through the trends on the show this morning.
Yeah, never losing Leverkusen. I like the play on words, Cardi.
Oh, yeah. I caught that in one of the broadcasts yesterday on BBC, and it was quite interesting. Never losing
Leverkusen, yeah. Never losing team of the morning brief. And Nigerians are talking about quite a lot this morning, Cardi, from the courts to the streets and to happenings from the chambers of the National Assembly. Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, that's what first catches my attention. Right. The Senate's approval of a bill for the salary increase for the Chief Justice of Nigeria to 60 million naira. Recall that in March, the House of Representatives had passed that bill, to raise the annual salary of the Chief Justice of Nigeria to 64.4 million naira. Oh, yeah. Now, what comes to my mind is, what about the salary increase that is being deliberated upon for the increase in minimum wage for Nigerian workers by the Salaries and Wages Commission? So, well, we're not afraid to be optimistic, but will he ever get to 64 million naira per annum for Nigerian workers?
Let's get there, hopefully today, next week, but don't let's drag our feet on this one from the governors to the federal level and not the National Assembly, because it will have a major role to play. Yeah. But let's begin in the rivers of political drama, or rivers political drama.
Rivers, I like rivers of political twists and turns. Okay. So we're starting with the governor's visit to River State yesterday, and which is what the State Assembly, yes, which was the State Assembly's terms as the governor storming the State Assembly complex. The first person to react here is Duncan Efosa, who says he should chase out all these people who are undermining him and make his administration chaotic. He was elected to govern, and anyone who opposes that should be dealt with. We're in a democracy. We're in a democracy. So there are 3 arms of government. So this appears, as much as it is a political crisis, a constitutional crisis as well. So it's left to the actors involved, to be able to give peace a chance.
Absolutely. And it's important for the citizens to also understand how governments work, so that our demands are put in the right perspective. So it's not as though we're demanding for Z when what the Constitution provides is A. But take a look at what this next user says. Prince Demlak has this to say, saying that no executive has power over the legislature. And he says, don't start what you can't finish, especially when the majority of legislatures are not on your side. So this user is, calling for a judicial solution to this, which is what you'll expect in this case. So he says, take judicial steps.
Yeah, well, quite a number of cases are in court already as far as the dispute is concerned. So from there, we're going to the next one on the protests by civil society organizations against the continued detention following the arrest of the FIJ journalist Daniel Ojukwu. And the first one is from Adeshola Ikulajolu. I hope I got that correctly. That's a big name. And what they say is, all we are saying is for Nigeria police to release Daniel Ojukwu. He is a journalist doing his work, not a criminal. Reminiscent of your words, journalism is not a crime.
It isn't. Emma_Cheme is now taking it from another angle. Why not sue the police? So the user is asking if they have any case against him, it should be taken to court. Police, he says, or this user believes, will never change from this practice of detaining people without taking them to court. And people are asking, I thought we learned from NSAS.
Well, apparently we may not have learned very much. Let's go to the next talking point now, which is the Senate approving the death penalty for drug traffickers. And this first reaction is from Arakunrin Olabisi, who says, that's good, but what about the penalty for looters? There shouldn't be double standards.
Absolutely.
And the next one
Yeah.
is from Mohammed Amin Saad. You have it now, Kadi.
Yeah, let's take that one. Says a necessary step in the right direction. Cultism should follow. Because of the evils of drug trafficking and cultism, a number of countries have deemed it fit to ban Nigerians from entry. And so that statement goes on. So they're adding that to the mix. It's quite a lot, really, the talking point that we have to cover on the show this morning. So we're starting off with one of the biggest ones. Keep your comments coming in, keep your messages coming in. We're here for you to take them and let the world hear about it. So stay with us right here on the Morning Brief as we begin with the first funny issue.
We'll be right back.
The type of counting down, or would I say counting, that you want. It's been 10 days now since journalist Daniel Ojukwu was taken by the police, moved from Lagos to the nation's capital, Abuja. Until today, he remains in custody in spite of several calls for his release. And it's sort of reminiscent of, days of military dictatorship when people are taken, arrested for days. But let's dig into this really and find out what exactly is wrong, what is the state of Daniel, and how, when the police say they would release him. We're joined on the program this morning by the board chairperson of FIJ, as a Foundation for Investigative Journalism, which Daniel Ojukwu works for, Buki Shonibare. She's live in our Abuja studio this morning. Good morning, Buki. Welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
The last time we had you was on the Chibok girls' abduction, but it looks like we're having you again for what people have described as an abduction yet again for Daniel Ojukwu. It's been described as abducted from Lagos, 48 hours. Nobody heard from him. Eventually, it was found out that he was in the police custody. So much has happened. But what we're concerned with right now is the state of Daniel and what exactly the police are saying as to why he's been detained 10 days now.
So, like you rightly said, 10 days ago, on May 1st specifically, Daniel was taken by the Nigerian police. And we keep using the word abduction because no communication was made or was allowed to be made between Daniel and his parents to let them know where he is or where he's going to. Not until 3 days after, where we had somebody tip us and informed us that Daniel is actually in Panti. And so for us, we just believe that that is an unlawful way of conducting an arrest. From May 1st to May 3rd, and then Daniel was transferred over to Abuja on Sunday. I was at the first CID on Sunday to see him. I was also there on Monday to see him. And by Sunday, when I saw him, I asked him the question, have you been told what you did? Has there been any charge or any information? He informed me that when he got to the NCC, that's on Sunday, that he was then, shown a petition that had been written by Moise Banire SAN on behalf of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on the SDGs, Mrs. Orilope Adefuliri. And so between then and now, what we have been doing is trying to explore administrative bail to ensure that it is brought out and the proper procedure as laid out by the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, particularly Section 30, is followed, in that when a suspect has been taken into custody, the suspect is entitled, to be bailed as soon as possible and not kept for more than 24 to 48 hours. As of yesterday, we had a march to the headquarters of the police force to request that the proper procedure should be followed. If Daniel has been found wanting, if you are not granting administrative bail. In fact, the ACJA in Section 30 actually said that upon recognizance, the suspect can actually be released, based on some amount of money. You will see that that was done in case of, for instance, like Cubana chief priest. And so that's what we are asking for, that the proper procedure should be followed. Daniel is a journalist, he's not a criminal. All he has done is to write a story. And if you see that cyber crimes has been committed on the basis of that story, go through the normal procedure, interrogate him through the normal procedure, investigate through the normal procedure, not to hold him in prison in the last 10 days.
And so some details are emerging from what you have said now. You talked about the offense that he allegedly committed, initiated by Muiz Banire, SAN, as instructed by the special assistant to the former president on SDGs. Have you been able to get a lawyer that would represent Mr. Ojukwu to cite that case? Has the FIJ, I'll take that again, has FIJ gotten the services of a lawyer to look at that case and perhaps give us an insight into what they're quoting as the offense committed by Mr. Ojukwu?
Thank you. So yes, we have an internal lawyer at FIJ who is also a member of the board. And we have looked at this, legally, we actually didn't know what specific offense until I think just yesterday or 2 days ago when we got the bail conditions. And in that document, it was written that Daniel has been charged with conspiracy and cyber stalking. Those are the two offenses that were written together in the bail condition. And so we looked at it to say, okay, how do you then establish the fact that there has been conspiracy on the one hand, or there has been, cyber crimes on the other hand? The section that has been used for this purpose has been Section 24 of the Cyber Crimes Act. And we know that that particular provision was amended significantly in February of 2024, such that it does not recognize the offense the way it has been interpreted long before now. And so you look at that, you expect that the law will be followed. So the law that Daniel is being held for is completely non-existent right now. And then laws cannot be applied retroactively because the law was amended in February of 2024. So we're looking at it from the legal perspective. But then as we do that, Daniel's continuous detention is dangerous to his health. He doesn't have access to his doctor. And so that's why we're exploring every other non-legal means, at least for now, until Daniel is out, so that we can then know exactly what he's being charged for, and we can see what the police wants to do legally in that regard, and even for us.
So in the bail condition that is being put forward, what are the conditions you've seen that is supposed to maybe allow him to go home, maybe continue proceedings later?
So those conditions are to the effect that he should produce directors or people of director level or some positions along that line from a civil service, a public servant has been requested for. And then we also saw that, okay, the person should be able to meet certain conditions in relation to property, financial worth of that property, and all of those things. And 2 of that was requested for. We've done as much as possible as we could do in that regard. So other than the protest that we had yesterday, we're also exploring this back channel administrative means, and we hope that based on the commitments that were made yesterday during the protest, and most importantly, based on interventions that has been made to the DIG and by the police force, we are hoping that all of those will result to Daniel's release as soon as possible.
So I wanted to find out, let's go back, which is one of the bigger concerns that we have, is the issue of what is your explanation to the effect that he would be picked up for 48 hours or so in communicating with his family? Because we saw it with Shego with the military, I guess. I think his own was even more days. What is this? What are they relying on to be able to pick somebody up, whether it's the military or the police or any of these government institutions, without an explanation? Is there something in law that allows them to do that?
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely, it's not found in any provision of the law. The law that guides the arrest, detention, interrogation in criminal cases like this is the Administration of Criminal Justice Act of 2015. And if you look at that particular law, the one that relates to this is sections 30 and 31 of that particular law. None of it states that you should pick someone arbitrarily, and then render the person incommunicado. The family was thrown into disarray. The employers were thrown into disarray. We didn't know where he was. We had to file a missing person information for us to say that we've not found Daniel for 3 days. So as I speak to you, and which is one of the reasons why we are not happy about this issue, and Nigerians are not happy about this issue. Nigerian police has been doing this for so long. They will pick someone and then detain the person, and you're looking for the person, you're not sure where the person is. You render the person incommunicado. So to answer your question directly, nothing in the law currently in Nigeria permits that particular action. It's been done many times, and if it is not stopped, it will continue to be done. The Administration of Criminal Justice Act, the ACJA, must always be followed at all times, which is why, the civic actor for the protection of civic actors that went out yesterday, one thing that we called for is that when you are conducting investigation and you need to question someone, document it, invite the person properly. The same National Center for Cyber Crimes of the National Police Force invited me on this same matter in March. My invitation was done in writing. They invited me to come, and I went there, honored the invitation, answered their question, and I was out of there within hours. Why was the same thing not done with Daniel? Why has the same thing not been done for many people? So one of the things that we are calling for is that follow the ACJA. When you are asking someone to come in for interrogation, document it. That way, the invitation helps the people around that person, knows where the person is going to, and then you can follow up properly to make sure that the thing is done. I will end my thought by saying 2 things. To establish that there has been a crime in law, we will say that you must establish the actus reus, which is the action, and the mens rea, which is the intention. For those 2 things to be established, you can't be doing that on just one person. Of course, he that asserts must prove in cases of crimes like this. So what we're saying is that you can't put someone in prison and expect the person to be able to prove the actus reus and the mens rea, and then put the person in an uncomfortable condition. There are 2 parties in any crime. The other party is not being investigated the way Daniel is being investigated, which is why we keep saying that Daniel is a journalist. He's not a criminal, and he should not be treated as one.
Absolutely. And just to put this in context, you're a lawyer. Your specialty is in international human rights law. So these things you're saying, you're not saying it just by knowledge. It's something you have dealt with across the world. I just wanted to put that in context so people know where you're coming from. I understand that there should be some interface with the police today. We look forward to that. But I want to take this back to, last week we were talking about International Press Freedom Day. He was arrested just about 2 days before the International Press Freedom Day. That's on the one hand. And President Bola Tinubu has said time and again that he will guarantee press freedom. In fact, at some point he was like, the press has essentially been holding their feet to the fire and they should continue to do that. He would support the press. Because again, you understand the backstory, his backstory. He was fighting military dictatorship using the press and the rest. So a lot of people are wondering, this doesn't quite add up. Well, they also say maybe because it wasn't in this country when the arrest happened. Maybe that's what's responsible for this, but it doesn't quite make sense. So speak to what this does to the image of this government, what it says about press freedom. The IGP is said to have met with the president yesterday. So speak to that and let's call this what it is.
Exactly. I mean, Nigeria under the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration, we've seen a lot in the last period of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. We've seen at least 11 journalists unlawfully detained, unlawfully arrested, unlawfully taken, whether for a few hours or for days. The first news editor, Mr. Shegun, at least is a recent one, and which is why we're using the Daniel Ojuku's case as an entry point to this conversation, not just for the protection of press in Nigeria. Section 22 of the Constitution guarantees freedom of the press. Section 39 subsection 1 of the Constitution guarantees the right to expression. It guarantees the right to hold your own opinion. And when you look at the cumulative effect of sections 34, 35 and 41 of the Constitution, it guarantees the freedom to the right of the dignity of the person, the right to freely move. And all of these rights for Daniel has been violated. So what we are seeing in terms of press freedom is that it is guaranteed in our Constitution. Our Constitution is our ground norm, is our apex law. And the best thing the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu can do is to ensure that under his administration, which is in a democratic society, we are not a police state, we are not a military state, to ensure that everything that is said regarding the fact that their feet has been put to the fire all the time, regarding the fact that they will ensure press freedom under his administration, those things must be put into action. It is of no excuse that the president was not in the country at that time that Daniel was unlawfully taken. What we should do and what the president should push for and ensure is that across all institutions, across all systems of government within Nigeria, whether he's around or he's not around, whether he's in that office or not in that office, the rule of law must be respected. Fairness, justice, the provisions of the Constitution and the provisions of our laws must always be respected at all times. There is a trust deficit between Nigerians and the Nigeria police. The Nigeria police has the opportunity to make sure that the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration is not rubbished because of actions like this. Somebody said on Twitter yesterday, Nigeria police has always done this and they will do this over and over again. And so long as they do it, he puts President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in bad light. He puts the Nigerian police in bad light. He puts Nigeria in bad light. We don't enjoy doing protests because each time we do protests, the whole world gets to know about it. And the cumulative effect of that affects us Nigerians. But we hope that this will be the last that the Nigerian police will do and that the proper procedure as laid out by the ACTA and the Constitution will be followed at all times.
Particularly at a time when the government has been going around the world essentially inviting investors. This is not good imaging at all. But I'd like to thank you so much. We understand that you have a busy day, you have some interface with the police, and of course we'll be following to see how that comes through. Buki Shonibari, board chairperson, FIJ, as Foundation for Investigative Journalism. Thank you so much for your time. We're with you on this, so please get back to us as soon as you have more.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll go to break now, and when we turn our attention to another matter, but of course we're not letting this out of our sight. So stay with us right here on The Morning Brief.
I want to thank you, distinguished honorable members for electing me as the new speaker, pursuant to the resignation of Right Honorable Edison Ogren Ehie, DSSRS, PhD. There has been an avalanche of legislative rascality perpetrated by the 25 former members of the 10th River State House of Assembly, led by the former Speaker, Right Honorable Martins Chike Ameule. These former members, being fully aware of the provision of Section 1091 sub G of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, defected from the People's Democratic Party, PDP, to the All Progressive Party, APC, and on 11th of December 2023, consequently, the Right Honorable Edison Ogren Ehie, on the 13th of December 2023, wrote to the Independent Electoral Commission, INEC, declaring the seats of the 25 lawmakers vacant in line with Section 1091G and 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999. Further, my distinguished colleagues, there are plethora of cases pending in our courts further to the defection of the former lawmakers. All laws, plenary sections, and actions taken by the illegal House are hereby declared void and a nullity in the eyes of the law.
A member, in fact, it is the leader of our own political party. And it would be foolhardy, to be stupidity on our part to sit down to see somebody way less than Mr. President insult Mr. President under our very nose. It is also an absurd to see the governor begin to espouse impunity, intimidation on the people who are members of our political party, and we stand akimbo doing nothing. We will sit here to see the governor declare on his own as if it's a law, it's a court. It has become Daniel that is sitting in judgment to declare assembly member seats vacant to that extent in consultation with my party. We have directed and we are directing, I want to let you hear that we are directing the assembly members, APC members who are in the assembly, to immediately commence the impeachment of Governor Sim Fubara.
Welcome back. Politics gets our attention now. I call it the rivers of many twists and turns, and of course, quite a number of undercurrents driving those twists and turns. Many questions on the lips of Nigerians about how this will be resolved. Does the APC and Rivers reserve the powers to order that the State Assembly commence impeachment proceedings against the governor? And, with so many cases in court, how will these issues be resolved? Joining us for that conversation, perhaps to provide some form of legal insight into these matters, is Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Professor Paul Ananaba. Professor Ananaba, thank you so much for joining us on the Morning Brief.
Thank you.
I'd like us to start from that conversation on our sister political program yesterday with Professor Adango, former Commissioner for Justice and Attorney General of Rivers State, who resigned his position after he was redeployed to the Office of Special Duties by the governor. And some of the things he said were to the effect that the governor was acting contrary to the agreement brokered by Mr. President as a solution to the political crisis. Following, just before that, the governor had challenged him for responding to a suit. I wonder what would be the position of a commissioner for justice. He was saying that, the governor has no right to educate him on how he should respond to a legal suit. It is his first assignment, to defend a suit in disobedience to his principal who employed him in the first place. Give us clarity as far as the legalese to that is concerned.
Well, thank you. The issue of Attorney General. The Attorney General of a state or the federation is occupying two positions. It's a Commissioner of Justice, and it's also the Attorney General. As Attorney General, the Supreme Court says he's a lord unto himself. And as Commissioner for Justice, he's a commissioner and in the executive. So the only powers the governor has over an Attorney General is to remove him. The Attorney General, his position is provided for in the Constitution. It's not just a commissioner. So the reasonable thing to do is for the Attorney General to resign. And if he doesn't agree with what is asked to do, remember that the Attorney General is also answerable to the legal profession. He is a person whose position is provided for the Constitution, and the qualification for that office is provided for. No other commissioner enjoys that type of position, constitutionally speaking. So I don't see any Attorney General that is worth his salt giving an excuse for doing what he knows is wrong, giving the excuse that it is because the governor said, or a member of the citizen. No, you cannot give such excuse. He will do the right things. If there's a suit, he has the power to discontinue the suit, to stop the entering null, as we used to say. He has the power to instruct another legal practitioner or subordinates in your office or himself to appear. So it's just that people are using politics to try to destroy the fabric of the society, the fabric of the regulatory regime of the country. The Attorney General should not be distracted or disturbed in performance of his duties. It is in principle believes the Attorney General is no longer in his good doing according to his instruction, he removes him. That's all.
Prof, when you look at the issue of River State, sometimes it's difficult to put this or there from where to where. What I mean by that is the Constitution is very clear as to how the House of Assembly should be in terms of numbers, bounded upwards and downwards, as we say in mathematics, 24 as against 40 as a mask. And now we're seeing all this conundrum. There's an argument as to the legality or the legitimacy of the 26 members who defected. There's another person who has now emerged as a speaker, although we didn't see how he was elected. We even saw a release of the recognition of the governor of this particular speaker. I want you to speak to all of the fine lines of the legalese that everybody seems to be playing around and what is really going on in the eyes of the law as far as Rivers politics and the assembly is concerned.
Well, we've been through this road before. I thought that we had learned and that based on our learning, we will not go back. Like you said, sometimes you worry about this country. You get worried about the country because we are making ourselves laughing stock across the globe. These things are not being done just in Rivers. It's been aired, it's on the internet, and people are reading across the country. How will an investor go to Rivers State now? How will he come to Nigeria, a country where this type of reports come from? And when politicians are taking positions, I expect them to know the effect of what they are doing on the average Nigerian and the African. Many times you hear international community describe Africa. Well, at some point we were said to be fantastically corrupt. Can you imagine that? So, as if every Nigerian is a criminal or is lawless or disrespectful. It's not true. So my first comment is that our politicians should imbibe and get enough dose of patriotism before they even take certain actions. Okay, the issue of the defection The Supreme Court settled that in the federal court case. It was settled. If there is no crisis in your party and you defect, you lose your seat. That's the position of the law today. It has not changed. Now, it's not only that, but the speaker will have to declare the seats vacant and all that. In this case, like as you alluded to, these are many other issues are in court. And again, in the process of that, no law says that settlement of dispute must be through the court. The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria intervenes, and people come together and discuss and reach an agreement. Why are they not respecting the agreement on the two sides? Why shouldn't they? Must we continue to be a laughing stock? Must Rivers State continue to be in the news every day? Or what award is Rivers State getting from this? This is a very good state. A state where many heroes and heroines of this country come from. Now,
well,
why will, even from Enakoja and Adeleke, the Supreme Court also settled this issue of 2-3 members of House of Assembly going to take decision for the House. Why will 3 legislators go, or 4 go, and it's okay, one of them is now Speaker? What kind of democracy is that? And yet, it's been endorsed by the executive in that state. So we should call on the two parties to sheathe their sword and go back to the agreement with the president. I can imagine how the president will feel at this point that after the agreement he had reached with these parties, they will now go back to something else. And I want to state clearly, they are not doing this country any good. The parties involved now, they should go back to the intervention of the president, sheathe their sword, and sort out this problem. This problem should not continue.
Well, Prof, it's quite interesting. Pardon me, that you mentioned that agreement or the pact that was signed or brokered by the president. Remember, we had a conversation yesterday when we were asking one of the representatives of the governor's camp, the PDP, saying, do they still consider the peace pact as a working document? And to him, it was like, well, obviously, lots of the provisions there were not being upheld, so it's as well as a dead document. So whether or not that will be resurrected is another case. But I want you to speak to this. Over the past couple of weeks, months, the commentary has sort of ensured that each arm of government gets its own fair share of the blame, or at least the responsibility for what is happening. That is a more appropriate term it will be. So from the executive to the legislature and even the judiciary. So in cases like this, which of the arms do you expect to stand up, be matured about this, sort of put its feet down and say, well, this is what must be done? Which of the arms of government should be the matured one now?
Thank you. If you look at the Constitution, the framers of the Constitution are very wise. They were thoughtful. Section 4 has the legislature. Section 5, the executive. Section 6, the judiciary. It is not by an accidental action. What it means is that the judiciary is the last point and the final point. And it is what the judiciary says that is the law. And that is what we have as the American realist jurisprudence. It is what the courts say and nothing more that is the law. The courts must sit up now. I do not expect conflicting judgments to come. If there are, with the multiplicity of cases, the NJC must rise to the occasion and make it clear to the judges that if all judges must keep to their judicial ethics and code. The judiciary is in a position to resolve this crisis one way or the other. And in doing that, I expect that this matter should be given accelerated hearing. It should be given an accelerated hearing, heard from day to day, and determine one way or the other. These lingering issues are not helping anyone. So the House should act as a House of Assembly. The executive should act as an executive, as conceived by the Constitution. Even if there's a dispute between the head of the executive and the immediate past governor and all that, those should not disrupt the running of the state. Even in families, husband and wife can quarrel, parents and children can quarrel. That shouldn't be elevated to state quarrels or state disputes. Now I'm thinking that elders and statesmen in this country should rise at this stage to speak on this point and call all the parties to order. The president should now, at this stage, not just allow things to go, because you can imagine a situation where 3-4 people, what if the 3-4 persons are going to impeach the executive and all that? Would that be acceptable? So that's the point I'm making, that people should look at the consequences of what they're trying to do.
Well, Prof, earlier on you acknowledged that once an assembly lawmaker defects, they lose their seats. And while we really wait for one arm of government to be mature and take that step to resolve this, in the eyes of the law, can the state assembly members impeach the governor? Because it looks like that's where the conversation is pretty much concentrated on now.
Well, I'll speak for myself as well. I'm not a judge. If let me start a bit backward. The budgets being operated by the executive in Rivers State, where did they get the powers for it? Who approved the budget? That's the question. You cannot pick and choose, you cannot somersault midway. There was a peace pact brokered by the president or whatever. Now, you recognize it, and everybody recognizes it and have flowed from it. There's another disagreement. You say, oh, yeah, the governor has no right to declare a House of Assembly illegal. There's no such right in the Constitution. He's the head of the executive to allow the judiciary to do its work. It's the judiciary that would interpret. And when I said the legislators will lose their seat, the Constitution goes forth to say that the Speaker of the House will declare them the seats vacant. And the person who is challenging that must be allowed to exhaust his right through the court system. So the issue of whether the members of the House can impeach will only be discussed after the judiciary has interpreted whether that defection amounts to losing their seat or not. That's how things run in a sane society.
So while it has not been determined, Prof, can the State Assembly, as it is constituted under the political agreement, can it impeach Governor Fubara?
I'm not going to answer in terms of impeachment. I'm going to answer in terms of, have they been lawfully carrying out their duties after they agreed the peace pact and they came back together and approved budget, and the budget is being spent? They've made laws which are being obeyed, pending when the court takes a final decision. Why will it get to other powers and you are saying, can they exercise it? It means that all persons who have spent the budget, money from the budget they approved, should return the money. Because it's unlawful.
All right, Prof. There's something I'd like you to speak to based on that resolution. Because when you think of River State, it's a combination of conundrum of absurdity here and there. Literally almost everybody being a law to himself, running around the fine lines of the law, because we know that the premise for their defection, as alluded by Matizami Ule, which is a subject of adjudication now, is the fact that the national secretary position of the PDP was in contention. Now, the court will be able to decide whether that was a good premise enough for them to defect. That's on one hand. On the other hand, is the fact that two provisions in that resolution seem to be the bone of contention. As a matter of fact, at face value, when that resolution was made public, a lot of people felt that the governor was under pressure to sign and all of that. But he came out to say, look, I'm going to follow through. I'm going to read the sixth provision. The governor of Rivers State, Sir Fubara, shall represent the state budget to properly constitute to a properly constituted River State House of Assembly. And then the number 8 says, there should not be a caretaker committee for local governments in River State. The dissolution of the local government administration is null and void and shall not be recognized. So I would like you to speak to this, because the governor, on the other hand, is arguing that as at the time he presented the budget to the House of 4, that was the right House of Assembly. And then when you look at the 8th provision, it feels like it's been encircled politically, which is why all of the unified consolidated amendment in the Local Government Act has been done. How should these two contentious peace item on the peace pact be resolved? Because that is where the problem is.
I'm not going to resolve those issues on the television, but I will just ask you a question. Last week, 10 days ago, was anybody making this argument? What happened between last week and now that has changed the situation? It's all politicizing the process. And the courts are not fit for political questions. It's a political question. The point I'm making is, all these are just the reasons people are bringing. That's not their main reason. It's a dispute between the immediate past governor and the governor. So all these ones are just trying to find a reason to give Nigerians. And it is very unfair to Nigerians to continue to do that. So I just asked the question last week. Last week, was this argument on the table?
Well,
it was not there. When gentlemen, you see, there's an admission against interest on the two sides. You have admitted that you signed this thing. You agreed. So what do you want the world to look at and believe about Nigerians? So let's call a spade a spade. You know, let's call it a spade a spade. We are now, who determines which of the assemblies is valid? Is it not the courts? It is the court. So, and most of these disputes are before the court. Why don't the parties wait? If they want to, the issue resolved through judicial process, let the courts decide finally which one is the right, which is the right house.
Quite a number of issues, really. But my concern here is, and sometimes you wonder, are the players, the major players, are they not thinking about these things? Is it as though we live in different worlds? So the concern is, if these major arms of government, different arms of government that you look up to resolve these issues, seem not to be resolving it. So what are the possibilities now? So what are the dangers? What are we sliding into if we keep seeing these law guys? I think we need to paint it out there.
The business of governance is suffering. Rivers State was once a state of reference. It's suffering. And I wouldn't say anything about it, but the Constitution envisages these things and has something, some provisions for it. If you check your Constitution, the president knows what his powers are. The National Assembly knows what their powers are. in a state where such intractable issues continue to go on. We've seen that sometimes in this state.
So Prof,
This
let me, pardon me. So, does this mean that River State is playing on the peripherals of state of emergency if these issues are not resolved?
And I told you, I said I won't make any pronouncement. I don't have to be cited about this matter. But I know that the Constitution provides for what the president should do if people refuse to be reasonable, what the National Assembly is supposed to do if people refuse to be reasonable, as is going on in that state now. I think that the statesmen in that state should become non-partisan across the country. Those who know the parties should speak to them, appeal to them in the interest of the River State, so that the state will continue on this path of progress. This is one state that has done very well in the past. They've had good governance continuous. They have had good governance. And I believe that the present governor is also a good person, a good governor. We should not allow whatever it is a dispute now to make Rivers State to be put in the dark. Rivers has been doing well, and they should continue to do well. They just need the president to call them back again, leaders in their parties to call them back, and then talk to them.
Well, Prof, besides the concern, about a possible constitutional crisis, there is also that very big one about this sliding into an ethnic sort of Cold War, between the people of the uplands and the Ijaw in Rivers State. You could refer to that visit by the former governor of Bayelsa State, during which he came with an entourage, to show solidarity with the governor. We could explain it away as, seeking stability with about the state of things in Rivers State, but it looks more like this sliding into a bigger, full-scale ethnic division between the peoples of Rivers. What do you see to be the consequences of this?
That's what politicians do. When they have their problems, they drag everybody into it, both at the River State now and in the entire country. Tomorrow they'll come together, they eat and wine and dine and wine and laugh at those of us who have spent our time to fight along lines. I do not think there's any ethnic issue there. It's just the politicians that want to make it ethnic. It's a dispute between two people. Where was the ethnicity when the immediate past governor chose the present governor over and above other people? There was no ethnic issue to raise. But now there's a dispute, there's an ethnic issue to raise. So let's de-emphasize the ethnicity. There's no ethnicity as far as I'm concerned. It shouldn't be. Rivers State is one state.
Prof, ideally, that's a way to look at it, but practically, it looks like that's a tone, because when you look at from 79 of the Okilos to Ada Judge in 93, and then you come upland to the likes of Dr. Peter Odili, and then to upland the queries as Rotimi Amechi, as well as Nyesom Wike, and now we have yet again another riverine man in the person of Siminala Fubara, and his deputy is some the upland Ikwere ethnic nationality or so, which is why that conversation is important, because that is why we raise the question of validity of impeachment or the other and what the Constitution says about that. That's why we want you to speak to the issue as much as possible to possibly see what can be done to resolve this before it goes that path, because going that path is going to be dangerous.
I retain my point that it's just the two big elephants fighting and dragging everybody to them. They should just de-escalate this problem and resolve it. And I was saying that Rivers people voted for this present governor, and they voted for those previous governors. They voted as a state, not by ethnic cards. The man who left He's from Upland, and he felt that it is fair that the riverine person should be. So let's start from there and not from what is going on now, and say, because this power will also come to the Upland again. So if we start playing ethnic politics, how are we going to end up? So impeachment should not be on grounds of ethnicity. Governance should not be on grounds of ethnicity. We should act as one people, one country, one state. Because if that is not done in any state, and it's done by clannish or ethnic basis, then you will know that we are in for serious crisis, because there will be no Nigeria. But what we want is, look at our national anthem. We are all one person, one people, one country, one nation, great people. Let the politicians, not out of their selfish desires, begin to make divisions. Like it's always said, if there's a football match by Rivers United or so, will we be saying this one is an Upland player, this one is a Riverine player? If we play football state by state, it will be Rivers State against another state. So let's not emphasize that this. I don't even want to discuss this ethnic and all that. And I'm one of those who push that in our national decision making, and we should begin to remove state of origin, local government of origin, and all that. You are a Nigerian, you are a Nigerian, and that's what we should do.
I think that calls to question the quality of people that those in government have around them. Is this kind of counsel they get from those people around them? They're meant to be advisors, so it raises that question yet again. But we can also look at what is happening of late and still use the law to analyze them, and hopefully they will hear and do what is right. Yesterday we saw the governor visiting the State Assembly quarters, and just right after that we saw the Speaker of the House, Martin Amewule, granting a press briefing saying, well, he wasn't invited, that's the governor was not invited, and this complex or the quarters should not be demolished, that it's in good condition, and the rest. Can you speak to that? Is the governor able to visit the quarters at any time without invitation? And I mean, what does that imply, really?
That facility is a government facility. I don't know of anything in law that stops the governor from going to visit the residential quarters. But the problem is when the witch cries in the night and the child dies in the morning, it's always the feeling that it is that way that cried in the night that killed the child. I know that on a good day, that wouldn't have been an issue. The speaker is just exercising entertaining some fears, and I'm sure the government will not go to demolish as has been put up, and the speaker is spreading about. If you demolish, it is Rivers money you use to review. And why are we descending so bad, so fast? And these are people who meet together, eat together, drink together. They were all they were all in one party. So that is why we should go to a more deeper solution, which is we should have politics of ideology. We don't have in many states I see people moving from one party to and the people that are welcoming them are clapping. It is not in the best interest of the country. Politicians should be principled. So I don't give any weight to the fact that there have been demolitions and all that, even though the past history tends to lean towards that in terms of the State Assembly, what has happened to the State Assembly and all that. But like I said, The Constitution has provision for states that are continuously recalcitrant, that are intermittent, and debilitating warfare continuously. The federal government has powers. They know what to do at an appropriate time. So those who are playing this politics with the state should also know that there are constitutional provisions that can take care of their slide.
And it will be interesting to know how the federal government will respond to this imbroglio yet again. But that question perhaps about whether it's ideal or in the eyes of the law for the governor to visit the state assembly quarters would perhaps not arise if it was peacetime, but when conflict arises, it places a question mark on quite a number of things. But Prof, let's switch gears now to look at perhaps other national matters just as critical as Rivers politics, which is the CBN's directive to levy cybercrime charge on all banks, all categories of banks. So many reactions to this, Prof, but in the eyes of the law, particularly with that reference to this being codified in an existing law, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm a draftsman by training, so I heap some of this blame on the draftsmen in the National Assembly. I mean, when you are drafting a new law or an amendment of a law, part of the things you do is to ensure that it does not infract on the Constitution and other existing laws. A situation where you now ask the money that the funds should be sent to the National Security Advisor and all. When we have the TSA, I think that's not well thought out in my view. But beyond that, the state of our economy and society, people are literally dying of hunger. Literally. And I don't know about you. I know how many phone calls I receive in a day, text messages with account details as to where to send money. And many of them are genuine. People are dying. People are in difficulty. Students are being flushed out of school. The economy is very hard and biting on Nigeria. Every government should be wary in increasing a tax or levy or imposing them or taking steps that will touch on the little that is left for the average Nigerian. What is the minimum wage as of today? If that worker has a wife, have one or two children, who pay house rent, will take transport to come to that work, well, how will you be calling for patriotism and dedication?
All right, Prof.
So the point I'm making is, if this cyber security law may well be good, but I think the timing need to be relooked at. And I expect that the president will step in and by an executive order, defer the implementation for now.
All right, Prof, as we begin to wind down, let's just have your take as Leonard Silk on this issue. Before we're speaking to you, we're talking about Daniel Ojukwu of FIJ, who was taken away by the police for 2 days. His family did not know where he was. And later they got to find out it was the police that picked him. The same thing happened to Mr. Shego of First News. That was the military. It took about 3 days, and it's been happening. And I did ask a question to the lawyer we had whether there's anything in the law that provides for picking up someone and making the person incommunicado with his family at least, no matter the weight of the allegation against that person. I would like you to speak to that. And are the law enforcement struggling with the concept of democracy?
Well, you are a journalist, so you can come from that perspective. You are free. There's no fundamental right that is absolute anywhere in the world. The press should be responsible when they are reportage. The police and the security agencies should be professional in what they do. There are knocks on the two sides. But having said that, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria provides for fundamental right enforcement rules and regime. So you had a world president a few days ago. That's what journalists should come together and do. The guild of editors and all that, they should come together and challenge infractions in the court. That's what the court is there for. Section 6 of the Constitution says so. If any security agency oversteps its bounds, go to court, the court will pronounce so, and you'll be entitled to public apology, you'll be entitled to damages, you'll be entitled to an injunction. Rather than heating up the polity again, the security agencies are against the press, or against democracy. Some of these things, we don't have all the information. But when you get to the court, all the information will be available. A learned mind or learned minds will look at it and make appropriate pronouncements.
Well, thank you so much, Prof. As journalists, we come from all perspectives. We explore all perspectives. But we thank you very much for your time and contribution on the program. We've been speaking with Professor Paul Ananaba. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we switch gears now to the more interesting, well, not as if the other aspects of the program have been less interesting, but as we say, to the more relaxing side of things, as we interact with our own colleague who's also, doing so many interesting things in the entertainment space. Stay with us. You don't want to miss this part of the program. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Let's now speak to our colleague, of course, right here in the studio, Ewalo Agumbadede. Now, she's not going to do colleague today. She's an artist right here.
Well.
But she wears many hats. She's a journalist, an actor, and a singer. Wow. But let's start with your hair. That's the one that got my attention. This afro.
Yeah.
Let's begin with why you chose this as an identity or a brand identity.
Okay, I mean, proudly African, proudly Yoruba, Ewolua, as the name goes. I just think the African hair is beautiful. It defies gravity. It's the only thing that goes up that doesn't come down. So I like that, and I just think I look good in an afro. And aside that, I also try other hairstyles, as you've seen in my other side of life. But I just think the afro is beautiful.
So we'll try to avoid the other side of life as much as possible. We'll face this side of your life. Tell us how you that's why, what did you call it? Multi-potentialite. Multi-potentialite. That's our code name today. That's your code name today. Are you able to, is it dichotomize or compartmentalize, as they put it now, all of this to be able to pursue? Because music is a lot of work.
It is.
It's a lot of work. Maybe all of us have a bit of background in it, so we understand what it takes. Tell us how you were able to walk around all of this and still be able to put out records.
Okay, so it's not easy, but I just have this mind that pricks me until I do it. It's like I can't. If you don't do this, you're not going to be happy, so do it. So it's like, okay, I'm not going to do this. I'm busy. I'm working. I'm going to put it off, but I can't have a good time because it's just boggling me. It's in my mind. So I have to do it because I just feel I've come to realize that as humans, we're like forms of expression, and we have all that. We have different things in us that we have to express. And for some people, it's art. For some people, it's science. For some people, it's relationships. You find them having great relationships at work, family. You know, they have to build that. You're like, why are you always around people? Can't you be by yourself? But they can't, you know, because that's what's in them. So, as a human tool, I feel like it's necessary to do my best to express all that it is God has given to me.
Wow.
Awesome. We were talking earlier, and I was marveling about the different side of you, because one could easily conclude that Ewolua is quiet, reserved, but you brought out all your femininity, with the identity, and it just seems like music becomes you, as we watch you, a different side of you completely. But talk to us about this album, Living Art. Found time, to study, to listen to the lyrics, and it seems like there's a lot of, you're talking about a lot of joy and a lot of, value on your person. But you also said in your interview to launch this album that you derive your inspiration from a lot of challenges and a lot of pain. So how are you able to, produce such inspiration from that place?
Okay, like I said, I see myself as a tool for expression, and it's just like, it's very weird now when I say, but it's like maybe something, let's say for instance, you're eating something that you like very good food, and then this song comes to your head, oh, this is so tasteful. So instead of, it doesn't come to my, like, as I'm just eating, oh, this food is sweet. Instead of you to just thinking, oh, this food is sweet, you're thinking like your head is singing. Oh, this is, I mean, it's not, I know it's sounding like, but that's like how it is. So it's the same thing if you're heartbroken, you're thinking in lyrics. So you're like maybe you already have a verse, as you're singing, you're already thinking, look at how he broke my heart, Now it's funny, but that's like how it is. So it's like, okay, I have to express my pain. It's just like journaling. Some people they journal maybe when they're heartbroken or something, but you express your pain through music. So like, okay, maybe I'm hearing myself. Maybe someone else hears it, they'll know what I'm going through, something like that.
I don't know why there has to be heartbreak in the first place. I don't know why people engage in breaking hearts. There's some story trending on X right now about that. Let's stop breaking hearts, okay? But I mean, I'm going to come to you from a different angle, because you studied in the University of Ibadan.
Yes, I did.
I studied in the University of Ibadan.
Yeah.
So we'll just leave them on the one hand and just have alma mater conversation. We'll be back, guys.
We'll be back.
I'm sorry, I had to do that. But I would like to track your story, really, because you're not new to the big stage. You were on The Voice.
Yes.
And you did amazingly well. So a lot of people see you right now will be like, hey, I know her face. I saw her on The Voice. You did great. Your vocals, amazing. So walk us through your journey before school to school, getting to The Voice, and still thriving in this industry. I think your story will be very interesting to a lot of people.
Thank you. Okay, I started doing music at a very young age. Not like professionally, it's not like I was playing piano or something. That sounded very bougie. But I mean, I knew I wanted to sing, so I was singing on my own.
Right.
So I always listened to artists like Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, Toni Braxton, Asha. That then, when I was younger, Asha was like the thing. So I was listening to all of that, and I just wanted to do music. And then there was this artist, Benita Okoje, the young, as at that time, she was.
That should be like Benita. See Benita.
So I was like, why can't I be like a young artist like this? I would write songs. I've been writing songs since I was like 10. Like as at 15, I had over 300 songs, and that's because my dad would always tell me. So when he noticed that I was writing songs, so he would tell me, "Right, do you have any other song today?" I would say, "You can write twice. I'll listen to it when I come back." So yes, I think that encouraged me to just keep writing. To just keep writing. So I wanted to be like a young singer, but obviously that didn't work out. But I kept singing anyway, and I when I got the chance to be on to take the stage, when reality TV became a thing for music, I took my first chance with Nigerian Idol. So I didn't think like maybe I was so fantastic singing, but I just wanted to sing, and it wasn't bad. My dad loved my songs, so why not? So I took the first chance on Nigerian Idol. I made it to the semi-final stage for Nigeria. I was 18 then. Right after that, though, I had to go to school. You know how it goes.
Yeah,
so
you had to come to school.
Yeah, I had to go to school. So I went to school. While I was in school, I was still performing. I had a stage name then called Zora.
You studied
Theater arts, yes. I had a stage in school called Zora, so I was performing, I was singing, and because I studied theater arts, obviously, I was acting as well. I love, like I said, expressive tools, so express myself through poetry, music, acting, all the likes. So after graduation, I had a collaboration with Philo for my song Hustle. That was as a result of a competition I won for the Western region. There was this competition, Airtel One Mic. They used to do there.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that was before The Voice. So I won for the Western region, and I got a collaboration with Fino. I was in a track with Two-Face. It was nice. We went, on tour as a fresh person out of uni. I was like, I'm gonna make it.
This is a life.
That was like my first launch and everything. But how it goes. I soon realized that you have to work. It doesn't matter the stage you've been on. You really have to grow some things inside of you to keep the limelight. So I learned all of those lessons, but I'm grateful that music stayed with me all through the process. Like you mentioned, I was on The Voice, and I just put out my album, so we're still on the journey.
Living art.
Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe you walk us through that particular collection of records called an album that you put out. So how many tracks are in the album?
I have 9 tracks on the album. Yes.
So maybe you walk us through some of the highlights of those. So because when we look at a body of work, we try to evaluate a theme. So if you were to define a theme, what were the themes you spoke to as far as the album is concerned?
Okay.
What's the title of the album, by the way?
Living art. Yes, living art. Yes. I feel like the major theme of the album is
Heartbreak?
No. There are many angles to it, but I feel like the major one will be joy. Joy, joy for every phase that you are in. Maybe recovery, maybe your highest point, I'm so excited, I'm on top of the world, or I'm down but I'm happy, or joy from the past, joy in the present, joy in the past, and joy in the future. So just joy, I think.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
We need the joy right now.
I sense
this
that.
economy
And
demands a
don't we
lot
all
of
need
joy.
it? Yeah. Don't we all need joy right
Yes.
now? But talk to us about how you would describe your sound. Listening to you, one could easily say that, Ewa Olua is a soul singing artist, and coupled with your identity as well. But how would you describe your sound? And through your journey, how do you see your outlook being defined? What are we going to know Ewa Olua for, so to speak?
Okay. Like I said, I'm still exploring. I don't want to limit myself to like a particular genre, but I think the defining thing would be that my music, what I hope to continue doing in my music is to inspire people, to motivate, to entertain, to bring about joy, good things, enjoy life, that kind of thing. So that's what I hope to pass with my music. But right now, my music is Afro soul, R&B, blues. That's like the genre I'm in right now. But I mean, I can do a high life, I can do some reggae, I can do it. I can do that too, yeah.
And the beauty is you also have a live band. You do live music.
Yes,
and I particularly love that.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't quite respect an artist until I've seen you perform live. I know there's a place for a recording artist. There's what happens in the studio, which is a lot of art too. But for me, I love when the music is done live, where I can really feel your voice. I can hear all of the instruments. And here it's not track 2 they are playing for you. You're lip syncing.
Yes.
That's on a personal note. Now, the music that is playing is called Happy.
Yes,
and I think it speaks to the theme of joy that you talked about. Is that, can we be in your next music video?
I don't mind. I don't mind. I don't mind.
I'm speaking for them too, to their
I
minds.
don't mind. I mean, you're superstars. It'd be good to have you in my video.
We're journalists.
So Bukola will
I mean,
be the
yeah,
vixen.
but like you're on the TV. And people want to
excuse me.
see you.
Bukola will be the vixen.
Excuse
No, you're
me.
all vixens.
Ouch.
If you're gonna be, if you're gonna be in the video, you're all
I
vixens.
thought vixen was like a female thing.
No, not exactly. No, everyone in the musical video playing a part is a vixen.
Okay.
Thank you for that clarification.
It's okay.
But I'd rather be your backup, not a vixen.
Yes, because you sing too. That's it.
Yeah, I wanted to also find out. Sorry, Kayode. I wanted to also find out the reception, because sometimes it's quite difficult. We've seen, which one is easier now? I think we've seen comedians become actors. We've seen musicians also go into acting, but transitioning from acting to music can be difficult for a lot of people in terms of risk. So that's this fine line of risk. How have you been received in the industry, knowing that you're a journalist and you have a responsibility to uphold the tenets of the profession, even when it's not convenient for the people, and all of that?
Yeah, I think that, I'm just only finding my way. This is my first album since when I became a full-on journalist. I was on TV, but this is like full-on journalist. Like I said, I'm evolving. But right now, I think the reception is good, but I think the difficulty lies in trying to separate your personas. So it's not like people are used to, like when it comes to music these days, they craft an image, so that's what you see everywhere. But in a situation where I'm also a journalist, I have different personas. So this is how I am when I'm presenting, when I'm anchoring, and this is how I am when I'm an artist. So building a brand that allows people to accept that fully, to allow it to sink in, I think that's where the challenge will lie.
But as a female in the industry, as we wind down, really, it's sometimes, you know what? Let me start again. So in this industry, what matters a lot, particularly the metrics you look at, is streams, right?
Yes.
So people will do literally anything to get streams, and I'm not even going to go into the different farms and the agricultural. You know whatever you know. So how do you try to balance the ethics you hold? Because your music is positive music. Your music is conscious music. It's not lewd music and the rest. So how do you balance that? Because some will say it's not quite marketable until you put some sort of controversy in it, until you put something, you know all of those things that happen. So how do you hold yourself and say, I'll keep my head up, I'm not going to engage in any controversy or any salacious thing, and keep pushing my music?
I think music, if you do good music speaks for itself. If you do good music, people love it, you push it, you market it, good music speaks for itself. I think when you now start to crave a different kind of publicity is when you would feel like, okay, you want to do something controversial. Because if people love your music and you communicate your message clearly through maybe your socials and everything, I feel like that's enough to build a fan base. But then if you want to always be in the news for any reason whatsoever, you don't care, maybe that's the reason, that would maybe push you into doing something controversial. Yeah, but I don't think that's something I'm really into.
There's something I would really love for you to do as a reminder. You said that you think in music. That's what you said. So you're going to think the morning brief. Jeffrey, Bukola, Kayode, and of course you joining us in music as well. I mean, how will we have this conversation without hearing that beautiful voice? So think about us in music. We'll give you a few seconds.
Okay, I usually do this
with a Friday vibe, by the way.
I usually do this in solitude, but this is like,
just imagine this is a bathroom. Nobody's watching.
I'm sitting in the morning breeze, see, it's a beautiful day. It's so beautiful. I'm with Bukola, I'm with Kayode, I'm with Jeffrey. What a beautiful day on morning breeze. Let's take a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, maybe some water, and look so green on this beautiful day.
There's no water inside.
On morning breeze.
That was so soothing. Wow.
So just for the record, I have.
I was looking for my own cup of coffee. I was looking for my own cup of
Thank you
coffee.
so much. Thank you.
I wish I had a cup of coffee so that we'll just do that video one time. You know,
I mean, people did not know there was no coffee in that cup. Now they know.
Now we're part of the music video, literally. So our wish has come true. We're live on this music video.
No, they finished the coffee now.
Okay,
So, by the way, I'm sure Tony's going to cut
Jeffrey,
this out for us.
let's not forget to do this.
what's
Living
that?
Art is streaming on all platforms
Yes,
right now.
please,
You can
yes.
get more of
Yes,
that
it is.
spontaneous, natural, beautiful sound
That was beautiful.
of
Thank you.
Ewoluwa's
That was
music.
beautiful.
Living Art is streaming, so start listening and start sharing.
Thank you so much.
those
Thank
runs.
you. And please follow me on social media.
Yeah, what's your handle?
What's your
I
handle?
am Ewoluwa _. I am Ewoluwa.
No, you have to spell it.
Okay, spell it. Okay.
Yes.
I am Ewoluwa EWAOLUWA _. Yeah, _.
I'm following her.
Yes.
So okay, watch out for all our socials.
I
We'll
mean,
put it out
please
there.
follow me. Please follow me too.
You know,
Follow
follow her like as I follow her.
Yes, please.
Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you
and
so
we wish you
much
the
for having
very,
me.
very best.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You know, now everybody talks about the Grammys and all of those numbers. So get the numbers, get the laurels, and we'll be right here to celebrate you.
Thank you.
As far as you go, we'll be right here to support you. Thank you so much for
Thank you
coming.
so much. I'm so grateful. Thanks for having
Thank
me.
you.
By the way, catch her on the entertainment news later.
Yeah, I forgot that part. And so, is it every day, literally.
Yes,
right?
every
day, 11 p.m.
Yes, and
So-
Metrofile too.
There you
on
go.
Fridays.
Superstar multi-potentialite.
We're doing our best.
That's why we're paying our big
Glory to
salaries, by
God.
the way.
Hey, we're grateful.
All right, guys, thank you so much. And it's been a wonderful journey for the weekend. We hope that the weekend is going to be greater for you. Thank you for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzoma.
Yeah, and try to find some rest this weekend. And join us again next week. I am Bukola Koka.
Ewalo has infected me. This is the morning brew. I'm kind of
Bye, 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 bye.
Goodbye.